I want you to put yourself in this scenario for just a second. It's November 1942. You are literally dragging yourself over a 7,500-foot mountain pass in the Pyrenees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's freezing. It's snowing. You're walking 50 miles over 2 days, and right behind you, I mean, just behind you, the full weight of the Nazi Gestapo is hunting you down.
Which is terrifying on its own.
Right.
Okay.
But here is the kicker. You are making this incredibly grueling trek on a wooden left leg.
It is an almost impossible physical reality to even comprehend.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking a huge stack of sources today to explore the life of the person making that climb, Virginia Hall.
And, we're really going to dismantle that slick Hollywood image of the spy, the whole tuxedo-clad agent with a shaken martini.
Exactly. Because the person the Gestapo considered the most dangerous of all Allied spies wasn't some James Bond type at all. She was an American civilian, a former journalist.
And an amputee.
Yeah. So our mission today is to really look at the mechanics of her life.
Right, to understand how someone who was, explicitly rejected by her own government for being a quote-unquote liability actually weaponized that exact marginalization.
Which is wild.
It is. She used it to orchestrate massive guerrilla warfare across France. We'll look at her early rejections, her groundbreaking work with the British SOE and the American OSS, and finally, the really heartbreaking irony of her post-war career.
I really want to start with that rejection, actually, because to understand how she became this phantom that just terrified the Third Reich, you have to look at how the U.S. government completely missed the boat on her during peacetime.
It really did.
Let's look at her pre-war profile. Born in Baltimore in 1906, wealthy family, big name Dindy, and her education was, it was top tier. Radcliffe, Barnard, George Washington University.
Right, and she had this incredible knack for languages, completely fluent in French, Italian, and German.
If you were building a diplomat in a lab, you would build her.
You really would. And she starts out on that path, right? Working as a consular service clerk in Warsaw and Smyrna in the early 1930s. She fully intends to become a career diplomat.
But then we hit this major pivot point. It's 1933. She's hunting in Turkey. She trips and accidentally shoots herself in the left foot.
Oh, man.
Yeah, gangrene sets in, and they actually have to amputate her leg below the knee. And she ends up getting this heavy wooden prosthesis, which she affectionately names Cuthbert.
Cuthbert, yeah. And you have to think about the physical reality of a 1930s prosthetic.
Oh, right.
It is not the lightweight, carbon fiber stuff we have today. It's heavy wood, leather straps, just get intense chafing.
But she doesn't quit.
No, not at all. She keeps working in Venice and Estonia, and she officially applies to the United States Foreign Service to be a full diplomat.
And they reject her.
They do.
Not because she isn't brilliant, but because of this incredibly rigid, obscure State Department rule against hiring people with missing limbs.
It's just bureaucracy at its worst.
Right. She even appeals directly to President FDR, who, let's remember, governed from a wheelchair himself. But she gets nowhere. She eventually resigns in 1939.
Yeah.
It's basically like, imagine a generational baseball prospect getting cut from a minor league team over some technicality in the rule book, only to go on and win the World Series for the rival team.
That is the perfect analogy. It captures that total blindness of peacetime bureaucracy.
Exactly.
Because in peacetime, institutions like the State Department, they're just obsessed with optics and rigid protocols. They want diplomats who fit a very specific, flawless physical mold.
Right.
So they threw away a massive asset simply because she didn't look the part.
But I'm curious about the psychological toll here. If you lose a limb, endure that sheer physical trauma, and then your own government basically tells you that you're fundamentally broken and unusable, does that break you? Or does it, build a very specific kind of armor?
Well, based on how she operated later, it definitely built armor.
Yeah.
Think about the core requirement of espionage. It's extreme psychological isolation.
Oh, that's a great point.
You have to be comfortable being an outsider, surrounded by people who don't truly know you. And her government forced her to be an outsider long before the war even started.
Wow.
So when war did break out, she was already kind of inoculated against that isolation.
Which perfectly sets up her transition.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have this woman who has been explicitly told she is a liability. How does that supposed liability become the Allies' greatest weapon?
Right, the pivot.
So we move to 1940. France falls. Hull's already there, actually driving an ambulance for the French army.
Talk about being in the thick of it.
Seriously. She ends up fleeing to Spain, has a chance meeting with British intelligence, And the British, who are desperate at this point, they snap her up for the Special Operations Executive, the SOE.
Right, because wartime desperation totally shifts the priorities. Organizations are forced to prioritize raw capability over those archaic rules. Survival becomes the only metric that matters.
Exactly. And by August 1941, she is back in Vichy, France. She's the first female SOE agent to take up residence there. But here's the detail I really want to dig into. Her cover story.
Oh, the cover story is brilliant.
She goes in posing as a reporter for the New York Post. Why a journalist?
Okay, so let's break down the actual mechanics of spycraft. What does an intelligence asset need to do all day?
Ask questions.
Exactly. They need to ask prying questions, interview locals, observe troop movements, and write highly detailed, coded reports.
Okay.
If you're undercover as, say, a baker or a seamstress, and the Gestapo catches you taking detailed notes on a train schedule or asking a soldier where his unit is deploying,
You're done.
you are immediately executed. But if you're a journalist...
It's literally your job. You can just say, oh, I'm writing an article about local infrastructure for the American papers.
Precisely. He gave her the perfect, legitimate excuse to be incredibly nosy. It is the ultimate example of hiding in plain sight.
Wow.
And she used that exact cover to build the Heckling network in Lyon.
Right, the Heckler network. And this is where the Hollywood myth completely shatters for me.
Yeah.
Because if you look at who she recruits for this network, it's not, highly trained assassins in tuxedos.
Not at all.
She recruits Jean Rousset, a local gynecologist, and Germaine Guerin, who owns a prominent local brothel. But let me just stop you right there for a second. A brothel.
Yeah.
How does that actually yield reliable military intelligence? Aren't they just, like, gossiping?
It is arguably the most reliable intelligence you can possibly get.
Really?
Think about the psychology of an occupying soldier. When they are on duty, their guard is fully up. But when they go to a brothel, they're off the clock.
Oh, I see.
They want to relax. They want to impress the women they're with. And so they talk. They complain about their commanding officers. They complain about having to move out to a new location on Tuesday.
Ah, so the sex workers are just mentally logging all these complaints and handing Hall the exact German deployment schedule.
Exactly. Guerin provides safe houses, sure. But more importantly, she provides this constant flowing river of loose talk from the German military.
That is just brilliant tradecraft.
Yeah.
And she's running this highly sophisticated operation while living in utter misery.
Oh, the conditions were awful.
I mean, the sources show a message she sent to London in the winter of 1941, literally begging them for a single bar of soap so she could be, in her words, both very happy and much cleaner.
It really grounds the whole thing, doesn't it? There is absolutely no glamour here.
No glamour at all.
Just a supreme, almost obsessive level of caution. The official SOE historian, M.R.D. Foote, noted that her survival really came down to living by the ultimate spy motto, dubito ergo sum.
Meaning,
I doubt, therefore I am.
I doubt, therefore I am. It's like Descartes for spies.
And she applied it ruthlessly.
Yeah.
There's an incident in October 1941. There's this major SOE meeting scheduled in Marseille. She's supposed to go.
Right.
But she senses something is off. Maybe the communication was weird. Maybe the timing just felt wrong to her. She decides to skip it.
Trusting her gut.
Exactly. And sure enough, the French police raid that exact meeting and capture a dozen agents. Because she trusted her doubt, she became one of the only agents left in France who could even communicate with London.
Which leads directly to what might be her most audacious move ever, the Mossack jailbreak.
Oh, this is incredible.
So those 12 agents caught in Marseille, they get locked up. Hall knows she's way too recognizable to visit them herself, so she coordinates an escape entirely from the outside.
Right.
The sources say she basically has a prisoner's wife smuggle in tools and tins of sardines. Wait, hold on. Sardine tins.
Yes, sardine tin.
How on earth does flimsy tin help you break out of a high-security prison?
Well, it wasn't about using the tin as a weapon or anything. They actually used the metal from those tins to forge and cast a replica key to the barracks.
Are you serious?
Yeah. She's running all the logistics on the outside, the safe houses, the vehicles, the escape routes, while the radio operator inside, Georges Béget, is literally making a functional key out of fish cans.
That is insane. And it works. I mean, in July 1942, all 12 men just walk out, meet Hall in Lyon, and get smuggled back to England.
And that one operation fundamentally shifts the dynamic of the war in France.
I bet.
The Germans are completely humiliated by this. They end up flooding Vichy with 500 Gestapo agents, specifically to find the center of this resistance.
And this is where The infamous Klaus Barbie enters the picture, right? The Gestapo chief in Lyon.
Yes, the Butcher of Lyon.
He reportedly said, and I'm quoting the sources here, "I would give anything to get my hands on that limping Canadian bitch," which he got her nationality wrong, but they knew she was a woman, and they definitely knew she had a limp. They called her Artemis.
This is the terrifying downside of success in espionage.
Right.
The more effective you are, the larger the target on your back becomes. And it really highlights the ultimate fragility of these resistance networks. You can live by, I doubt, therefore I am, but eventually you have to trust someone.
Right, because you just can't run a massive network alone.
Exactly. And in August 1942, a man named Robert Alesh approaches her network. Oh, no.
Yeah. He's posing as a Roman Catholic priest, claiming to represent a French resistance group. Now, Hall is highly suspicious of him. Her instinct is screaming at her that something is wrong. But she checks with London, and London tells her, no, he's legitimate, you can trust him.
But he wasn't.
He was absolutely not. He was an agent of the Abwehr, the German military intelligence.
Wow.
And that is all it takes. One compromised node. Elish penetrates the network, and her wireless operators just start getting swept up.
And the timing of this is just apocalyptic, because right as her network is being completely compromised from the inside, the whole geopolitical map flips.
Right. November 1942.
Exactly. The Allies invade North Africa, and the Germans instantly retaliate by fully occupying Vichy France. Hall knows the Gestapo is coming for her. She doesn't even tell her closest friends. She just runs.
Which brings us right back to that frozen mountain pass we talked about at the start.
Yeah. She takes a train to Perpignan, down near the Spanish border, and the only way out is over the Pyrenees on foot. And let's just really think about this for a second.
Yeah, please.
Imagine you are her. You are walking 50 miles. You are climbing 7,500 feet in altitude, in the snow, with a wooden leg that does not articulate like modern prosthetics do.
The chafing, the bleeding.
The sheer caloric burn just to take a single step. The very thing that made her an easily identifiable target for Klaus Barbie, her disability, is now the ultimate test of her physical endurance.
It requires a level of willpower that is just difficult to even overstate.
It really is. And what's fascinating is how she handles the psychological strain of that exact moment.
Oh, the radio message.
Yes. She sends this final radio message to London right before losing contact, saying she hopes Cuthbert won't give her trouble on the journey.
Because that's what she named her leg.
Right, but the operator in London reading the message didn't know about her leg. They thought Cuthbert was, like, a compromised agent.
Oh, my God.
So London replies in complete seriousness, if Cuthbert troublesome, eliminate him.
Assassinate your own left leg. It is pitch black comedy, right in the middle of a literal nightmare. But against all odds, she makes it. She crosses into Spain. She gets briefly arrested. But the American embassy bails her out, and she gets back to London by 1943.
Safe and sound.
Right. She gets an MBE. She is completely safe.
But for someone like Virginia Hall, safety is agonizing.
Yeah.
She basically demands to go back to France.
And the British SOE tells her absolutely not. They're like, you are way too compromised. The Gestapo knows your face. They know you're limp. It's a suicide mission.
Which is a completely rational assessment.
Totally. But she doesn't take no for an answer. So what does she do? She just switches teams.
She does.
She walks right over to the Americans, to the newly formed Office of Strategic Services, the OSS.
And they hire her, but, only at the rank of second lieutenant. And because her wooden leg prevents her from parachuting in, they actually have to smuggle her back into France in March 1944 via a motor gunboat.
Okay, but if the Gestapo is still actively looking for a 30-something redheaded woman with a limp, how does she even survive over there?
By executing an absolute masterclass in psychological camouflage. She doesn't just, change her hair color, she becomes a completely different person. Marcel Montaigne, an elderly peasant woman.
The physical commitment to this disguise is insane to me. The sources note she literally went to a dentist and had her own healthy teeth filed down so they look like the rotting teeth of a poor peasant.
It's extreme.
She dyed her hair gray.
But the limp, how do you hide a mechanical limp?
That's the genius of it. You don't hide it, you mask it.
Mask it how?
She adopted this slow, wide, exhausted shuffle of an elderly woman carrying heavy loads.
Oh, wow.
She'd be out there selling cheese to German soldiers or milking cows right in front of them. The Gestapo was looking for this dynamic, dangerous American spy. They completely ignored this shuffling old woman.
It's brilliant. She weaponized their own biases right against them. But, she also had to deal with the biases of her own side.
Oh, the sexism was rampant. Yeah. The OSS pairs her with this 62-year-old male officer named Henri Lassault, simply because they didn't think a woman could run the network.
Right. And Lasud is supposed to be the leader, while she's just relegated to being the wireless operator.
But she realizes almost immediately that Lassault talks way too much
Yeah.
and is a massive security risk. So she just ditches him.
She just leaves him behind.
She literally tells her contacts not to tell him where she is. It's ruthless. And she heads to the Haute-Loire region to organize the Maquisards, the French guerrilla fighters.
And this is a massive shift. This is where she scales up from just intelligence gathering to commanding a full-on paramilitary force. She is commanding roughly 1,500 armed men.
But wait, explain the mechanics of that to me. You have 1,500 battle-hardened French guerrilla fighters. They have their own self-proclaimed, colonels. Why on earth would they take orders from an American woman they barely even know?
It all comes down to logistics.
Right.
Guerrilla fighters need two things to operate: money and bullets. And Hall controlled the radio codes to the OSS.
I see where this is going.
Right. If those French colonels wanted airdrops of weapons, explosives, or funds, they had to go through her. She essentially starved out any insubordination by holding the purse strings. If you want to fight, you follow her tactical plan.
That is incredible leverage.
It is.
And the results are undeniable. She directs them to blow up bridges, sabotage rail lines, ambush German convoys. It's kind of like a corporate headquarters sending a middle manager to check on a local branch, only to realize the local intern has already orchestrated a hostile takeover and dominates the entire market.
That's a really great way to frame it, because by the time the elite allied Jedburgh team finally parachutes in to supposedly train her fighters in August 1944, they are entirely useless.
Right. I love this detail. Hall writes this incredibly dry report, noting that the elite team arrived, quote, after the Germans had been liquidated in their department.
Yeah.
Her ragtag army had entirely cleared out the Nazis before the American army even arrived.
It is a staggering operational triumph, truly. But, and this is where the story takes a really sharp, deeply frustrating turn.
Yeah, it does.
Because as we move out of the war into the post-war era, the rules change again. We transition from the clarity of the battlefield back to the suffocating reality of office bureaucracy.
This part of the sources genuinely made my blood boil.
It's hard to read.
So she goes back to Lyon after the war.
Yeah.
She finds out Germaine Guérin and Jean Rousset survived the camps, but 3 young men she called her nephews were executed. The human cost is just devastating.
Absolutely.
But then, in 1947, she joins the newly formed CIA. Now, you would think, given her resume, she would be running the place.
You really would think so. But consider the environment. During the war, survival was the only metric. If the bridge exploded and the agents escaped, nobody cared about your gender.
Right.
But when peace returns, those rigid social hierarchies, they violently reassert themselves.
She gets completely sidelined. They stick her behind a desk analyzing intelligence reports. She's passed over for promotions time and time again. She gets terrible performance reviews from middle managers who didn't even oversee her field work.
I just kept thinking, how does someone who outsmarted Klaus Barbie and commanded 1,500 guerrillas get defeated by insecure bureaucrats in Lamley?
Because peacetime bureaucracies don't value disruption. They value conformity.
Wow.
And the CIA actually admitted this decades later in a secret report. They explicitly acknowledged that her male colleagues felt threatened by her and that her unmatched field experience basically overshadowed them.
So they just buried her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They neutralized the threat by shunting her into backwater administrative roles. They stripped her of the autonomy that made her so great in the first place.
It is just a colossal, tragic waste of talent.
It really is.
Let's look at the official legacy the sources leave us with. General William Donovan awarded her the Distinguished Service Cross. She's actually the only civilian woman from World War II to get it.
A huge honor. But she refused a public ceremony from President Truman because she said she was, quote, most anxious to get busy. She didn't want the spotlight at all. She received an MBE, the French Croix de Guerre, and eventually, long after she died in 1982, they put her in various intelligence halls of fame.
But as you review all these accolades in the sources, there is one final detail that I really think demands our attention.
What's that?
Virginia Hall left absolutely no memoir. She granted no interviews. She spoke almost nothing about her life overseas, even to her own family.
I mean, the easy answer is that she was just part of that quiet, humble generation.
The easy answer, yes. But think about everything we've just discussed today. Think about her tradecraft. Could her absolute lifelong silence have been the ultimate enduring application of "I doubt, therefore I am"?
Oh, wow. Hadn't thought of that.
Or perhaps even more poignantly, could that silence have been a protest?
A protest.
Why would she offer up the thrilling cinematic stories of her youth to entertain a society and a government that categorically refused to let her fully use those brilliant talents once peace arrived?
That is a really profound question to leave on.
Yeah.
Why give them the movie version of your life when they couldn't even handle the reality of who you were in the office?
Exactly.
It brings us right back to the beginning. We expect the tailored trench coat and the martini, but the reality of the most dangerous spy of World War II is a woman filing her teeth down, commanding a guerrilla army, and dragging a wooden leg over a freezing mountain. It's incredible. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the history you think you know and keep digging.